Oh, my name is Anne. I'm a compulsive overeater and a bulimic. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the gray sheet. My food is committed to my sponsor. I don't eat between meals, no matter what happens. And abstinence is the most important thing in my life without exception. My abstinence date is October 21st, 2000. Um, I'm glad I made it on here. And bear with me, I'm on the phone. I haven't done this before, and we'll see how it works out. But God, do I get centered by joining a gray sheet meeting? And I feel like I need centering. So I appreciate everybody being here. I have this long to-do list. It's the list of things I have to do before we fly to Ireland on Saturday next. And, the 14-item to-do list is just for Monday. That's how I operate. I give myself a crazy high bar of to-dos. And I just, in one way, it helps me to just cross off the list and go to the next item. But I have to be careful about lists. I'm better off write a list and do 3 things off of it. So one of the things is to get to the meeting today. Because just saying the mantra and being with you, it's, I'm joining like-minded individuals to remember what's important and what my primary purpose is today. I used to not be able to stop eating. I couldn't stop, and I hated myself, and I felt like I was in hell, in literal hell. I don't believe in an afterlife hell experience anymore at all. I think it's the worst of separation from a God contact and the worst of addiction to any substance, and that's hell. And I've been to hell, and I'm not there because of the gray sheet. When I got here, I had been through overeating for so many years of my life. And then getting to OA, I got to Overeaters Anonymous in California, in Los Angeles in 1995. It was my first experience of a 12-step meeting. And at that point, I'd been bulimic for, I think, 4 years, maybe more than that, quite a few years. And I couldn't face who I was. I was acting like my life worked in so many ways on the exterior. And internally, it had progressed to where I was just binging and couldn't stop. And I got stopped with bulimia in Overeaters Anonymous. But I never knew about the continual craving and obsession that was kept alive in my body by having the substances in me. I used to call myself 95% sugar-free back then because I did have a sense it was about sugar, but the grains and carbohydrates, I didn't have that down. So honestly, it was only when I got to Gray Sheet that I truly experienced the lack of craving and obsession, of it going away. But I did have this relatively sugar-free abstinence, and it's so hilarious. I found journals where I was planning to take journals from my time in OA, where after 4 years of OA, I went into deep relapse because I was eating substances that was keeping alive the craving. And then I went down further than I'd ever been before. And in these journals, I was planning to go to OA and take a candle or an acknowledgement from the group for not eating the stuff we put stuff on slices between, and then the brown stuff. Those 2 items I hadn't eaten for 30 days, and I was going to go take a chip. And that's the best I could do. So what happened was I had 20 months of horrible relapse where everything got worse and worse and worse. And then I found Gray Sheet. I found an Eskimo brought me to a Gray Sheet meeting, and everything changed. Everything changed. What happened though was I got to a Gray Sheet meeting and I still couldn't stop eating. And I am under no illusion that when someone has to eat again, I don't feel like there are some cases where people are not doing everything suggested, but I had an experience of doing everything suggested, calling a ton of people, being on every phone meeting, writing it down, I did everything. I was an A+ student for Gray Sheet, and I still had to eat. So I'm grateful for that experience because it helps me reach a hand out to the person who has to eat again. Because I know that what happened for me was I couldn't get out of the detox. I couldn't get past the point where that craving, that gorilla got me again, and I had to go dance again. And the substance was in my body, and I felt like I was going to die if I didn't eat it again. So I'm so grateful for that because I just persisted. I just came back. We don't shoot our wounded. You guys said, what are you going to have for the next meal? And that's what I do to the next person who calls me. I just say, I know. What are you eating for the next meal? Because that's the only way out. And it's not punitive. It's not about faulting people when they eat again. So I just kept doing it. And there was 6 months where I had day 1, day 0, day 0. I got 5 days. I got 6 days. I got 21 days at one time. Then I was back to day 0. Couldn't get 1 day. Couldn't get 1 day. And in my innermost, I would just say, God, what am I supposed to do? And the feeling in the depths of me was, don't leave. And I didn't. And I kept calling people. And when I got fired by a sponsor, I'd get names from the phone meeting and I'd call somebody else. And I believed that I didn't have to be the poster child for continuing to eat. But here was the surrender. I was told, you can't do it. I would say, I can't do this. And they'd say, exactly, you're right. And that's the good news. You can't. God can. You don't know what that is, but it's connected to being in touch with GreySheeters. And there's this common consciousness of, we all assemble with the understanding that no matter what happens today, there is nothing that I have to eat over. And then it's, you catch that disease, or you catch that problem of, no matter what, I'm a GreySheeter. And it did. It just, it caught. And my day 1 was not one I chose. The ones I chose as my day 1 never stuck. So I had to surrender to the fact that I didn't know when a day 1 was going to be. And so here we are, and it's like 18 plus years later, and it still works. And so that's what I have to offer, is a message of great hope for someone who can't stop. So in my life today, I love my food. I think it took me a couple of months of doing GreySheet diligently before I really loved my food and was thrilled. I didn't fear anymore that I was going to go off the deep end. Initially, I was just in terror all the time, even going to a grocery store, because I thought I was going to go off the deep end in 1 second at a grocery store. Now I trust GreySheet. It's kind of like, it's my insulin for this disease. I take this insulin called GreySheet 3 times a day, and it keeps my disease at bay. So I love my food, and it is the most important part of my day. You know, there's a job, and there's 2 children, and there's a husband, and there's a home, and there's all these things in my life, like a life of abundance. And I am useless for all of them unless I have this foundation of GreySheet. The metronome to my existence is what I heard it called. And I love that because it allows me to be able to function in life. None of the rest matters if I'm in the food. So an example would be, I'm going to Ireland on Saturday, the whole family. I still do what I did in the beginning. I make a plan of what time zone I'm in and when can I have the next meal. I pack stuff I know is TSA appropriate. I'm not going to try and bring goopy, pasty stuff on the plane. Anything that gets in my check baggage, that's fine. But I'm not going to try and push the corners. I don't want to risk things being taken away from me. So I make things that I know are safe, and I bring the next 3 meals on my body. And then I bring a few backup meals in my purse, as in dry substances that I have pre-measured, so that I have more than the 3 next meals if I had to. And that's what I do. And I've been communicating with my sister-in-law, and she's asking, what food do you want in? So I'm telling her a few things that I need that will make the first 24 hours okay, and I don't have to go to a grocery store. That's just how I operate. I don't need to go and do fancy stuff and go to fancy restaurants. I am fine about packing something. It can be like a hockey puck, small thing. I'll do that if I need to. And here's the thing that's challenging about the travel. The inconvenient and the tough part will be going to family members' homes, because they don't know how to handle me. They're not sure what to do with me, and they don't know what to make. And I reassure them, it's okay, I'll bring something along. And it's still a source of awkwardness. And here I am 18 plus years later, and I still don't know how to navigate that. But, you know, I do it 1 incident at a time, 1 meal at a time. And I'll minimize the meals. We'll have coffee. I'll go for coffee to people's house. We'll come for a cup of tea, and I'll reassure them that I have what I need. And if it gets awkward, I do gray sheet no matter how awkward it is. Sometimes it's with such ease and grace that I laugh at it and go, my God, they didn't even see the scale in a restaurant or on the table. And at other times it feels really clumsy and I feel like, God, I don't have this down at all. But I still do it no matter what. The phrase compared to what matters enormously for me. Compared to what? I used to stand in public bathrooms with my feet facing the wrong way. Like,
5 minutes left.
thanks, Teddy. So, I used to look like that. And I knew when I came to the US first, I hated the bathroom doors because in Ireland, they went to the floor and you could be in there, as a bulimic and maybe no one knowing what you're up to. But here it was very obvious because they'd all these bathroom doors that showed your feet. And I still did it anyway and had to walk out and face people, and say I felt ill or whatever it was. It was just humiliation in my life. I haven't felt humiliated about my food for over 18 years. I felt awkward. I might feel awkward in this trip, but it's just, I have this fatal disease. I'm really clear it's fatal for me. Nothing stops me. And by the grace of God, I'm stopped. And I'm thrilled about that. And I need to be in touch with that on a daily basis, or I'll start thinking other things are more important. So, these 3 meals are what ground me in the day. I have discomfort about gathering with family members. It's 1 week, and I have like emotional discomfort about getting together with people. There's a voice in my head that says, they really don't care to see me that much, and I don't know if they'll all come out and gather or if they're going to be as available. It feels a very juvenile way of insecurity. And it's great that I can spot that, because before I used to chew that up and eat over it. I'm aware that I have vulnerability and insecurity about gathering with everybody. And, so what I do is I plan, protect, do all the chopping and schlepping and all that. And I show up and it's this growth that I'm in of learning how to be Anne, learning how to be myself. Here I am. This is who I am. I'm bringing you a GreySheeter who is a bit unusual about food. And that's not my whole definition. There's so many other beautiful connections that I can have with all these family members and cousins. And if I'm in the food, I won't even go see them. I got honest with a lot of them about who I am, and that I'm different about how I eat. And I'm just being honest that it's still not gone, the insecurity and the vulnerability about it. When I'm with all of you, I feel comfortable about it. But I'm very supported by my husband and by my brother and sister-in-law, and that's where we're going to stay for the trip. I'll just say the trip afterwards when we get back, because I know my time's running down. After that, we go to Atlanta for 5 days. To my husband's sister and her family. I'm less secure about my base there. I'm going to be in her kitchen, and I'll need a lot of backup. I'm just going to bring a lot of backup. It's not the easiest relationship, but I'm going to show up, hold on to my abstinence like the gem it is, and I'll be polite. I'm just going to go be polite. I'll be a polite GreySheeter who my abstinence comes before anything, and I'm not going to sacrifice it for any awkwardness. I love my food. I've been prepping and doing what I was taught from the start. I'm chopping and prepping today. I have things in the freezer. I'm ready. It's like I'll wind up with this. I feel sometimes like we're kind of like undercover out there. We're like warriors in battle, and we have our supplies with us that allow us to live life and be able to show up. And I think it's wonderful to allow that inner part of me that loves the food, to allow that to be okay. I don't have to dismiss it. I can embrace the part of me that just is thrilled about breakfast, and just any part of me that's that vulnerable, feeling like 6 or 7 years old. I just tell her, get behind me, honey. I got your back. I'll deal with this. That higher part takes over. And without GreySheet, I'm not in touch with that at all. So no matter what, and thank you for grounding me, and I'll pass.